Alright everybody, once again welcome back to Panzer Unleashed, where silence is treason and truth is a weapon. Once again, I'm your host, and I'm not just a journalist, I'm definitely not a politician, but a war-forged witness to the filth that hides in plain fucking sight every single day right under our noses. And this isn't theory, people. This is lived experience, and once again, this episode isn't about speculation. It's about betrayal, survival, and the burning need for justice. And it's been about 14 years of war with corruption that wears badges. And this one's called The Phoenix Files, and this is hunting the traitors within. So, once again, strap in, because this one's really personal to me. And it started like any other day in downtown Phoenix, my friends. You know, I had information, real dangerous information, you know, cartel activity, real heavy. You know, I did what any concerned citizen would do when somebody would try to kick in their door, and then eventually being tailed for no reason. And, you know, I tried to do the right thing. You know, I went to the police, to the very institution, you know, we're raised to believe that protects and serves us, but instead of protection, I was set up and sold. You know, I was approached by a big motherfucking Lurch-looking cop from their, looked like the fucking Addams Family guy, looked like kind of like Fred Gwynn, and he was in the bubble that day, gray hair, you know, really thick build, you know, standing like a fucking gatekeeper, big motherfucker at the bus stop bubble downtown. And I told him what was up, that I had some info, and he took my ID, told me to sit right there, and he ran it and pulled some strings. Next thing you know, a clean-cut looking fucking guy in a Coca-Cola outfit. Now, Officer Jones, that's right, the undercover fucking smooth talker, you know, had his laptop set up, recording everything that I was saying, and he claimed that he was going to take my statement and help me. And, you know, he recorded everything, you know, took down the names of everything and the events, the fucking phone numbers, locations. You know, I laid it all out. And then nothing. You know, he ghosted me, you know, for so long, until I fucking called the number back that on the card he gave me. And to come to find out that all their names were Jones in their undercover unit, you know, that's just a fucking cover. And, you know, but the cartels, they started circling, you know, like a motherfucker, you know. I'm an attention to detail freak. And the information I gave, you know, in trust, you know, the details that could have saved lives and dismantled pipelines, you know, I got fucking sold back to the fucking filth that, you know, it was meant to stop. And Officer Jones, your fucking fake cover name, the Phoenix Penis, the fucking, exactly, the Phoenix Penis Department, because they fuck you. Alright, before we continue, let's go ahead and get into this week's Intel Briefing. And today we're going to go ahead and dive into the current landscape of cartel activity and police corruption. Here are key developments of 2025 that every citizen soldier should be aware of. Up first, we have El Chapo's legacy. It says the Sinaloa cartel remains a dominant force under the leadership of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman's son, continuing expand their drug trafficking operations across the United States. As well as the fentanyl crisis, says fentanyl production has surged, with cartels heavily involved in its distribution and contributing to record overdose deaths in the United States. And this synthetic opiate crisis is at the forefront of our public health battle. As you can tell with all the fentanyl zombies walking around out there, looking like Michael Jackson's, Thriller video. But, yeah, Operation Legend. It says this federal initiative, launched back in 2020, has continued to target cartel-related violence in major U.S. cities, underscoring the government's commitment to combating this issue. Says right here that a massive drug seizure back in 2023 alone, U.S. authorities seized over 5,000 pounds of fentanyl linked to Mexican cartel, highlighting the ongoing efforts to disrupt trafficking networks here in 2025. And once again, we have corruption in law enforcement. The report revealed that over 70% of police in Mexico have felt pressured to collaborate with drug cartels, showcasing the deep-rooted corruption within law enforcement there. And we have community policing investigations. It says, in response to corruption, U.S. communities have implemented community policing strategies to rebuild trust between law enforcement and citizens, showing promising results in local engagement. Right here we have Joint Task Force. It says local and federal agencies have formed task force to combat cartel influences, focusing on intelligence sharing and coordinated operations to tackle this growing threat, as well as the human trafficking. It says cartels are increasingly involved in human trafficking, exploiting vulnerable individuals for labor and sexual exploitation, particularly amongst the U.S.-Mexican border. And, of course, the rising violence with the turf wars amongst cartels have escalated violence in northern Mexico, leading to high-profile assassinations and increased attacks on law enforcement and government officials. It says the increased collaborations with U.S. and Mexican law enforcement agencies are enhancing collaboration on joint operations to dismantle cartel networks, sharing intelligence and resources to combat this transitional threat. And these developments serve as a stark reminder out there, people. The fight against cartel corruption and police misconduct is going to be ongoing. And as a citizen soldier, we must remain vigilant and informed. Empowerment comes from understanding the battlefield that we navigate. So stay engaged and educate others in your community about the threats that exist out there. And once again, let's go ahead and get back into the main op, and this has been our Intel Briefing. You know, and the fucking Phoenix PD, you know, whatever the fuck that cop's real name was that ghosted me, you know, but the cartel didn't ghost me. You know, they're fucking literally bought out every single fucking house out around me in one of my properties. And literally, they are my neighbors. You know, constant fucking walking by, touching of the noses. You know, it's fucking hilarious. You know, for 14 years, I've been living with this fucking green light on my head. 14 fucking years, you know, of having this distinct, you know, paranoia, but for the best, you know, and dodging the shadows and, you know, watching every fucking alley and keeping your head on a swivel like Jones told me to do. And 14 years later, I'm still fucking doing it. And, you know, 14 years of being hunted, people, because someone wearing a fucking badge sold me out. That wasn't just betrayal, you know, that was attempted murder. I've called, I've written, I've fucking shown up to fucking these departments, and every time I hit a wall. Getting phone numbers that are just disconnected, goes nowhere. Cops that fucking literally try to make you feel like you're like mentally fucked up. And the same, you know, condescending fucking dismissals. You know, you've seen too many fucking movies. It's the same shit. And you know what's fucking funny? I still had that officer's card for that fucking so long. His number, the fucking everything. And when I called that number, and once I found out that they're all named Jones, and I got that cold shiver, I dropped the card. And, you know, I started living with this fucking green light. And I'm still here, you know, not just alive, but sharper than I've ever fucking been before. Hardened, tempered, and fucking weaponized by experience. And now I'm coming for fucking answers. And here's what you need to understand. And the corruption we're talking about isn't some isolated incident. You know, this isn't a rogue cop gone bad. This is a systematic operation. embedded, protected, and profitable. You have units in the Phoenix Police Department who are running intel for cash pipelines. They prey on citizens who try to help, especially those who don't have lawyers, media access, or institutional power. They log your info, mine, your details, and they fucking vanish. And that intel, they flip it. They sell it, trade it, sometimes to gangs, sometimes to fucking Sinaloa-linked cells, and sometimes to rivals for control. And these fucking traitors don't wear masks. They wear uniforms. They eat on taxpayers' dimes while handing your fucking life over to killers in exchange for blood money. And the Jones undercover unit at the Phoenix fucking Police Department, whoever they really are, is a textbook fucking example of state-enabled treason. And you can fucking bet your last goddamn dollar, the last round, they're not acting alone. Every fucking time I've tried to reopen this shit and try to fucking get eyeballs on it, it's the same fucking loop. Oh, we'll look into it. Oh, there's no record of such an officer. That number doesn't match up to any department line now. Bull fucking shit. All right, before we continue, this week's tactical breakdown. And today we're going to go ahead and focus on preparedness by discussing the top 5 essentials that you should have in your bug out bag. Because when disaster strikes, having that gear can mean the difference between safety and chaos, my friends. So we're going to go ahead and get into this. First, you have to get yourself a water filtration system. First and foremost, water is life, people. And you can survive for days without food, but only a few hours without water. And portable water filtration systems, such as a compact filter or a purification tablet, it's essential. And this allows you to access clean drinking water from natural sources, ensuring that you stay hydrated in any situation. You have to look for filters that can be that remove bacteria and protozoa and ensures that the lightweight and that they're easy to use. And second, you have to have a first aid kit, people. You need a well-stocked first aid kit. Accidents happen, and in any survival situation, you're going to need to be prepared to address injuries and illness. And your kit should include adhesives, bandages, antiseptics, wipes, gauze, tweezers, pain relievers, and any personal medication that you might need. Consider investing in a pre-made kit or assembling your own, ensuring that it's compact and organized for quick access. And you have to have some type of multi-tool or survival knife. A multi-tool or a high-quality survival knife is, it's a must in any bug-out bag, because these versatile tools can serve multi-purposes. And from food preparation or repairs to even self-defense, you have to look for a multi-tool that includes pliers, screwdrivers, a knife, a blade, and a sturdy survival knife with probably a fixed blade. Can also be used for tasks like building shelters, starting fires, and preparing your food. And number 4, emergency food supply. You never know when you might need to rely on your bug out bag for sustenance. And so having emergency food, supplies is crucial. So choose something lightweight, non-perishable food items that are easy to prepare and consume. Options can always go with like freeze-dried meals, energy bars, or the MREs. Those are good ones. Excellent. And, you have to make sure to pack enough food to sustain you for at least 72 hours. And consider dietary restrictions. And last but not least, number 5, your fire starting kit. You know, you need a reliable fire starting kit. You know, fire is the essential for warmth, cooking, and signaling for help. You know, pack multiple methods for starting a fire. You know, you can start with the waterproof matches, a lighter, a fire starter. You know, consider including like small amounts of tinder, like cotton. Like if you got out of your dryer, when you change out your lint rolls, save your lint. You know, they can help you ignite a fire quickly, and knowing how to start a fire in various conditions is fucking crucial for survival. So, once again, practice this before you find yourself in a real situation. And, you know, these top 5 essentials: water filtration, first aid kit, a multi-tool, emergency food supply, and a fire starting kit will provide you with the foundational tools needed to survive out there in the crisis. So, you know, remember the goal, people, of that bug out bag. It's to equip you for the unexpected. And make sure to review and update your bag to ensure that everything is good and it meets your personal needs. So, once again, stay prepared and stay safe. And remember, people, the best defense is a well-prepared mind and body. Let's go ahead and get back into the main op, people. All right, warriors, before we continue, it's time for our signal boost. And today I want to take a moment to recognize all of the tireless efforts of all the content creators who are on the front lines of information decimation. And you are the modern-day heralds of truth, my friends. And your contributions are crucial in this battle against misinformation and societal decay. And in a world of this bullshit noise of distortion, you know, I see you all standing out as a beacon. And, you know, you have been illuminating the path for others. Whether you're either crafting videos on YouTube or sharing the insights on Odyssey or broadcasting on that Goyim TV, you know, your work is not just entertainment. You know, it's a lifeline for those seeking knowledge and clarity. And you are the real warriors, you know, fighting in the fucking trenches of this digital battlefield every fucking day. And every piece of content that you produce has the fucking potential to awaken a spirit, especially in someone out there who may feel lost or confused or overwhelmed in their life. You know, you are equipping your audience with the tools that they need to navigate this fucking bullshit. And remember this, you know, the power of your voice is immeasurable. And you have the ability to inspire change and to provoke thought and to ignite action. And every video you upload, every article you write, you know, every discussion you lead, you know, these are not just mere fucking contributions, people. They are an investment in the future of our society. So once again, keep pushing forward, my friends, and embrace these challenges that come with being a content creator. Understand that the road may be fought with these obstacles, but every hurdle that you overcome out there strengthens your resolve, people. Always remember that. And you will always be part of a movement that transcends entertainment. And you are fostering a culture of critical thinking and empowerment, my friends. And let's be clear on this, you know, this isn't just a hobby for you. This is a calling. You are an integratable part of this Iron Voice society, amplifying the message of truth, accountability, and resilience. And you're helping to create this generation of informed citizens who won't accept this status quo bullshit. And as you continue to create, just remember this, to engage with your audience. Listen to their feedback and understand their needs and adapt. And your community is your greatest asset. You know, they are not just viewers, they are your allies in this mission. You know, encourage them to share your content, to spread the message, and to join the fight for a better tomorrow. And to all the people out there on Gab, that's been allowing me to post my content and all the links. You know, it's greatly appreciated. You know, if I had a list to read off, I would, but like I said, you know who you are. So, you know, let's raise our voices together, people, and let's go ahead and uplift one another in this journey. And I urge you all to collaborate, man. I see so many of you guys out there with so much talent. And if you guys sprinkled each other's creativity on top, it's just, like I said, it'd be a beautiful network. And to support the fellow creators who are aligned with our mission. You know, we are stronger together. Always remember that. And the impact that we can have, you know, it's monumental. And I want to emphasize that what you do fucking matters. And you are shaping minds. The white pills, the red pills, you know, and influencing hearts and driving the change we desperately need. You know, just stand tall in your conviction, my friends, and never underestimate the power of your fucking platform. Because you are the iron voice of a new generation. And your courage in the face of adversity will inspire those others to join you in this fucking pursuit. So, like I said, everybody out there, keep creating, keep sharing, and never lose sight of the importance of your work, because the world needs your voice. And the world needs your fucking truth, because you have to be relentless, people, and dedicated, and you have to be committed to spreading awareness together. You know, and like I said, people, we are gonna forge a brighter future for our children by any means necessary. And once again, this has been our Signal Boost. And, you know, the whole fucking, oh, you watch too many movies fucking line is fucking golden. How many times I heard that bullshit? That's not a denial. That's a script, people. A deflection fucking tactic. And let me tell you, it works on the average guy. But you know what? I'm not fucking average, motherfucker. I've recorded these dates, locations, times, and fucking file documentation. I still have them out the fucking wazoo of these cocksuckers walking by every day, looking up at the camera, scratching their noses, letting me know that they knows my situation. It's so fucking stupid. You know, I learned this shit in prison. And, you know, the movement of cartel affiliates out there connected to these fucking betrayals, you know, I'm tracking them. I've mapped their fucking patterns. I've got their businesses they launder their cash through, and I've spoken with others, you know, people like me who got the same fucking treatment. And this isn't incompetence. This is a protocol, a fucking cover-up designed to let snakes in fucking uniforms slither out the fucking back door while you get hunted in the fucking dark. And, you know, I need this call to action. You know, I've been looking for a fucking lawyer out there. Not just any lawyer, but a fucking wartime lawyer. Someone with a fucking spine and integrity and the goddamn hunger to take on this institutional corruption. And if you know someone, if you are someone, then reach out, because time is done ticking. We're taking names and not fucking waiting on them. And if you're in the Phoenix area and you have been sold out, burned, and ghosted, or threatened by the same underbelly of so-called fucking law enforcement, then this is your signal. And I want to hear your story as well, people. You know, I want names, descriptions, places. If you know this lurchy looking fucking big officer in Phoenix Police Department 14 years ago, downtown, big old tall lurchy looking motherfucker. If you've seen that same type of pattern of fucking setup and silence, you know, I want to know. You know, it's time we stop suffering separately and start documenting together, because the only way to beat a fucking shadow network is to shine a goddamn light on it. And I'm not just fucking waiting for justice, people. I'm going hunting in the meantime. And we're gonna track these ghosts, the Jones officers of the fucking Phoenix Police Department. And that little beat cop. Like I said, he looked like he was on his way out the door anyway. The big lurchy looking fucking gatekeeper guy at the fucking downtown right there. You know, every handler, every facilitator, every fucking superior that let this fucking rot spread, we are going to fucking identify that precinct's connections, the badge numbers, and that fucking timeline overlaps. And like I said, we're going to be digging. You know, every fucking PD complaint on a record from fucking 2013 to 2025 involving those cartel tip-offs that lead to retaliations or witnesses disappearing. Yeah, that's right. And like I said, we're going to be connecting the dots piece by piece, brick by brick, people. And like I said, then we're going to drop that fucking file. And that's how we're going to win. Like I said, with documentation, with unity, with a fucking citizens intelligence operation. And let me be clear, you know, we are not vigilantes. You know, we're not here to do what the system won't. You know, we're here to make the system work again. You know, through exposure, through lawful fucking aggression, and through strategic alliance. And here's what the fuck I need from you. And if you want in, the first thing is definitely record everything. Store it off-site, keep up backup files, and document who you give info to. And, you know, build the timeline, share that with trusted allies, you know, encrypted. And never meet alone. And never stop talking. Silence is what keeps them fucking safe, and I've learned this for fucking too long, people. Your voice is stronger, and that is a fucking weapon. And you're not crazy. You're not alone. And you're not outnumbered. Not anymore, people. And 14 years ago, I was marked for death. Betrayed by the fucking very badge I tried to trust. But I didn't fold. I adapted. I became sharper than I've ever been fucking sharpened in my life. And harder and clearer. And the darkness didn't kill me, you know? It fucking carved me into a fucking blade. And now I'm here speaking about this and broadcasting and documenting still to this day. And I won't fucking stop until this thing is ripped into the fucking daylight, until every uniformed goddamn traitor out there who sold out their oath in the name of fucking corruption, they need to be confronted, they need to be named and broken legally. And this is your chance to join something real. Something dangerous and something necessary. And if you know something about the Jones operation out there at the Phoenix Police Department and their undercover fucking cover unit, and like I said, about that gray-haired giant in the fucking Phoenix bus zone 14 years ago, or about the internal pipeline there that's tied to that Phoenix PD, to the cartel intel for cash trade. And my message to those who did this: you should have fucking killed me when you had the motherfucking chance. Because trust me, I've known I got away multiple fucking times. Because now I'm Panzer Unleashed. And to the listeners, stand the fuck up and speak up. Document everything, link arms with the fucking fearless, and never let the fucking enemy define your story. This isn't about revenge. This is about restoration of law and truth and of motherfucking power to the people. And to the green light on my fucking head, well, like I said, you better bring your fucking army, motherfuckers. Because I'm not running. I haven't been running. Like I said, this is a fucking chess game. And I'm fucking coming for you. Transmission out.